Joining us now for our brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin. Good morning, Vimbai.
Good morning, ADFMs. How are you today?
I'm right. Thank you so much. Royal Blue today. And good morning, Rufai.
Morning, Femi.
How are we doing?
Very well.
Very, very good. Let me tell you what's happening around the world. Now, the two worlds of geopolitics and economics collide again as Brazilian President Lula da Silva has unveiled an aid package to support companies hardest hit by the steep hike in US tariffs. Now, at the heart of this aid package is a $5.5 billion credit line for exporters and government purchases of products that face greater hurdles in finding alternative markets. That's as US President Donald Trump raised duties on several goods from Brazil from 10 to 50% earlier this month. Now, some sectors were exempted from the steeper levies, though the move still targets coffee, beef, seafood, textiles, footwear and fruit, major Brazilian exports. Now, this move from Brazil should not come as a surprise, as Lula had said that he would not immediately retaliate against the jump in tariffs, though Brazil does have a reciprocity law. In the background, there is, of course, a disbelief from Donald Trump and his supporters at the prosecution of his friend and former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, who is currently under house arrest while on trial for attempting to overturn the 2022 election loss, is proof of a deliberate breakdown in the rule of law in Brazil, with the government engaging in politically motivated intimidation and committing human rights abuses. Those are the accusations. Now, Bolsonaro's trial is expected to come to a sentencing phase sometime between September and October. Now, France has imposed a harsh penalty by stripping the residency of a man who lit his cigarette at a war memorial in Paris. Now, camera footage shows 47-year-old Moroccan immigrant stooping to light his cigarette at the unknown soldier war memorial in Paris. His action sparked outrage and was widely shared on the internet. Now, in response, France's Interior Minister Bruno Retailleau, a hardline conservative politician with presidential ambitions, said France will never let anyone tarnish the memory of those who have died for it. This decision to strip the man of his residency rights in France would be the first step towards expelling him and deporting him back to Morocco. But is this just a punishment? Is this a just punishment or a sign of political heavy-handedness? I'd love to hear your thoughts before we move on to the papers.
It's a country that respects its values. If that man was probably in Nigeria, he would be made an ambassador. It's a country that respects its values. There are some places that are sacred in France. Places like this, the Place des Invalides. I mean, there are places that are sacred. You see, Nigeria has lost what I call a national ethos. I was in Paris, I think in maybe 2018, 2017, the day Bernard Aznavour, the musician, died. And you needed to see how they took Aznavour's body to the Place des Invalides, the national respect, the national honor, the national symbolism. And I learned a lot about a nation not forgetting its essence, a nation where the coat of arms means something, the liberté, égalité et fraternité. So a man going to light a cigarette in a place that memorialized those that died in a war that fought for the sovereignty of France is a no-no. So whatever you say, there is something called honor. And it is a duty we must pay to honor by respecting people. But in our climb, do we even have honor? Well, the people will celebrate. Is it not the runt of the litter will celebrate, the rags of the earth? You know, the honor you have, as long as you have money in Nigeria, you can get away with evil. And that's why the other day, EFCC was talking about fighting corruption. Somebody withdrew over 180 billion. The same EFCC saw bullion van in somebody's house till today. We've not heard anything. Let's forget Nigeria's matter, please. The second story, it also shows a leader that has a level of respect and protection for his economy. He must make a point with Bolsonaro's prosecution. What Bolsonaro did was wrong, and I'm happy he told Trump that if you had done what you did in Brazil, you will be prosecuted. But when Trump decided to use tariff as a weapon of war, because it's a weapon of war, he decided to shield the people with a package, brought out a first 30 billion reals, 5.5 billion credit line, Apart from that, he also brought a tax credit scheme to the tune of $980 million. That's another 5 billion reals. He also brought out an insurance scheme for these companies to be able to buffer against all of this, because he knows if his country does well, we all do well. But what do we do to our companies here? Don't we overtax them multiple times? That's why we're happy about the tax bill. It's going to clear everything. Don't we have, high-handedness? You will see people, because of political interest, you will set up a company. They will look for the way to run down your company. It's the same Nigeria, where we're supposed to be protecting Dangote. Dangote's offense now that he has decided to build a refinery nobody has built in Nigeria. They want to run the man down. Because of interest. They are trying. It's just that the man. That's why I support that man. We need to fight with him.
Thank you.
So people still prefer to go and import. So, but you can see a country protecting their own. You see, that's why Nigeria is not moving forward.
All right, let's start in France, where, I mean, goodness me, what a deplorable thing to do, to desecrate some of the most valuable and important symbols of a country's history. Especially, I mean, there's no excuse for a local doing it, but especially as a foreigner, I mean, that's a very high level of effrontery. So I think that, I've read several comments, actually. A lot of commentaries are even saying they think he got off easy because besides the deportation, they felt that he should have served more prison time within France. The gentleman himself, the 47-year-old, is a repeat offender. Le Parisien was saying he has 28 prior offenses, which include car theft, vandalism, drug-related offenses, and so forth. So generally, I think he was definitely edging towards becoming persona non grata sooner rather than later. So it's possible that he was actually intoxicated when he did this, because they spoke of rehabilitating him as well and giving him some drug and alcohol support. However, that is no excuse for desecrating. I mean, I always like to speak of home when I get the opportunity. Well, this is home, but my other home, Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, we have a hero's acre where all of our fallen soldiers are buried. Now, I can't imagine somebody going there and, lighting a cigarette, because there's a flame there as well. Yeah. Lighting a cigarette on top of the bones of the people who sacrificed their lives to give you liberation, to give you freedom, to make sure that you can enjoy liberty today. I mean, that is just unheard of. So I think he should go back to Morocco, cool off, and think about his life. Very important. I love the point that Rufai made, which is that if we are to juxtapose this with Nigeria, how can we resuscitate the passion, the excitement, the enthusiasm for history again? Yes, we've advocated for it to go back into the curriculum. They've said it will go back into the curriculum as a compulsory subject. But, it hasn't been implemented yet. But beyond that, yes, we have some monuments here and there, but how can we infuse this excitement and passion and love for our history into our day-to-day lives? I think is a great conversation for us to have locally.
Thank you, Bimbai.
It's Mrs. Abike Dabiri-Irewa, who, in confronting diaspora issues, she's chairman of the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, who always says, look, even Nigerians, when you are in other people's countries, respect their laws. Respect their rules, respect their regulations. Behave when you are in Rome like the Romans, yes, which is what common people, ordinary people say ordinarily. Now, this is a particular act of desecration that this Moroccan, 47-year-old, unnamed, has committed. The Arc de Triomphe in that main boulevard in Paris, anybody who has ever been to Paris will be on that boulevard. Otherwise, because that's where you have the major shops. Yes. And then somewhere around there is where you have the tomb of the unknown soldier, a soldier unnamed from World War I, whose remains are buried there. And they have that monument there with the flame that is there perpetually. And then you have a migrant who has a residency permit going to light cigarettes there. That in itself, the outrage that it has generated is justified, in my view. It's an act of provocation. And it's on the basis of that the Interior Minister, Ratelo, has said, look, this man must go. And I don't think it's a case of political high-handedness, because you asked the question, yes, whether this is a case of political high-handedness. Since he has presidential ambitions. Yeah, because the man did not behave like the Romans in Rome. He went and desecrated a very sacred monument, to the French people. He deserves to be deported. On the high-handedness side, well, there's politics in France, heavy politics now. They are going to have general elections in 2027. Ratilot, the Minister of Interior, is one of those persons on the far right interested in that presidential election. But what is known is that since his appointment in September 2024, he has been a hardliner, particularly with regard to illegal migration involving people from Algeria. So this Moroccan going to misbehave just gives Ratilot an opportunity to say, well, this is what I've been telling you. These illegal migrants, some of them get residency, but they don't stand by French values. I think every country has a right to stand by their own values and to insist that anybody, whether migrant or tourist, must respect those values. This is the equivalent of anybody desecrating any other national monument in any part of the country. So this gentleman should be deported. In addition, I understand that he will also be asked to pay a fine under Article 225 of the Penal Code that is operative in France. So he should pay that fine too, in addition to being sent back post-haste to Morocco. The second issue that you have raised has to do with Luis da Silva, Lula, as is popularly known, the president of Brazil. The issue has to do with Jair Bolsonaro, the former president, who was accused of having organized a coup after losing the election last year. And Alexandre de Moraes, in the Supreme Court of Brazil, has now sanctioned him further. Yes. He has been placed under house arrest. And now President Trump and Marco Rubio, the Secretary of the State of the United States, has been saying, well, this is a case of victimization. Lula says you are interfering in our sovereignty. Now, that's the original cause of all of this. And it's on the basis of all of that controversy, disagreement, that the United States decided to increase the tariffs against Brazil from 10% to 50%. Now, Lula says, well, we don't want to apply reciprocity, even if our law allows us to do that.6however, what we will do is that we will protect our own people.
That's what he's
hence the $5.5 billion aid, hence the $960,000 for
$90 million.
$960,000 million. $960,000 million. I'm very specific. I know what I'm saying. To support SMEs in Brazil, and then tax credits to be given to those who export, and then opportunities to be provided for those who ordinarily export to the United States but are unable to do so. So what you see here, the whole project, the whole initiative is called Sovereign Brazil.
That's what they're calling
so,
it, yes.
They are insisting on their sovereignty, but we'll see how it ends at the end of the day and how this tariff war takes the United States.
We'll have to see. Well, thank you all for your wonderful submissions to the World Brief, as always. Let's move on to newspapers. Let's take a look at the front page of This Day. This Day reports that the United States State Department has approved a foreign military sale to Nigeria of munitions, precision bombs, precision rockets, and related equipment valued at an estimated $346 million or 532 billion naira. This is coming after US lawmakers had put a hold on the sale of weapons to Nigeria during Trump's first term in office over concerns over possible human rights abuses by the federal government and a series of accidental bombings by the military, air and land forces pursuing attempts to clear terrorists from different enclaves, which also affected villages in different parts of Nigeria. Now, the US did resume arms transactions with Nigeria in 2022 with a nearly $1 billion worth of weapons deal sale to Nigeria by the Joe Biden administration. Now, This Day also reports on the release of Comfort Emerson from Kirikiri prison as police withdraw charges and the AON lifts its ban. The NCAA has also withdrawn its criminal complaint against Kwan Won, but the pilots involved in his incident still have to wait a month before their licenses are the suspension to their licenses will be lifted, so they still have to wait that month. Now, the Vanguard and the Daily Independent both lead with that story, as both papers take the angle of criticism against the federal government for not following due process in its handling of these cases. Now, it has been reported, as we've noted here, that both Kwamwan and Miss Emerson will work as volunteer aviation ambassadors. Now, the Daily Trust leads with President Tinubu heading to Brazil on his third visit to the South American country in 9 months. Of course, we know that he obviously went for the BRICS summit recently, and then before then, he had traveled there at the end of last year. It is believed that the president will hold bilateral talks with his host, of course, attend a Nigeria-Brazil business forum, and witness the signing of agreements and memoranda of understanding aimed at deepening economic, trade, and technical cooperation. Tinubu's travels will also take him to Japan, where he'll participate in the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development, scheduled to hold in Yokohama between August 20th and 22nd. Now, coming back to Nigeria, the New Telegraph leads with the PDP demanding absolute loyalty from Nyesom Wike, Samuel Ortom, and Ayodele Fayose. That's as the Punch leads with the PDP unveiling its 2027 election zoning committee, as the party dispels rumours of Goodluck Jonathan and Peter Obi joining the party. Meanwhile, the Daily Sun does report on Lassa fever cases being the most prevalent in Bauchi, Ebonyi, Edo, Ondo, and Taraba states. The paper also repeats in the federal government banning the creation of new federal tertiary institutions, so new universities, new polytechnics, new colleges of education. They've banned that for 7 years. That's as 9 private educational institutions have been approved.
What did you say in that? You said the PDP was demanding loyalty from Wike.
From Wike, from Samuel Ortom, and Ayodele Fayose.
Everybody that is supporting President Tinubu.
That's what the paper said. That's what the paper said.
Not her handwriting. Not her handwriting. I think the president is off to Brazil and Japan.
Yes.
I think with regards to Brazil, we'd asked several questions the last time. And I know there had been, the background to this is that we have had a long history of economic cooperation, bilateral ties with Brazil.
Yes.
But I think at this point, with the most recent developments, the agricultural deals that we've struck and so forth, we want to start seeing it translate into something tangible on the ground.
Agreed.
So it's great to be strengthening relations with the global south, but we want to now start seeing it translating into something on the ground.
Thank you.
Over to you.
Okay, I mean, there's this story about aviation,
Yes.
K1 and Comfort, Emerson, who has now been comforted. Comfort ye, oh my people, comfort ye. And she has been... She has been released. But there's this argument between lawyers and aviation experts about how the matter has been handled. Now, the first part of it is that the AON, the Airline Operators of Nigeria, does it even have the powers to unilaterally impose a lifetime ban on Ms. Comfort Emerson? And 2, the difference in terms of the treatment. The lawyers are talking about that. And then coming out and saying, oh, Kwamwan will now be an ambassador. Now people are, look, in the mentality of the people, I saw that paragraph in Minister Keyamo's statement. Oh, that although people will think when you say a man is an ambassador, you will think he's been rewarded, he's been given. Well, that is the truth. That's the perception. If a man has committed an infraction, and then you come and say he's an infraction, he's an ambassador for aviation safety, when in fact what he did is a violation of airport security. The kind of thing that many rational Nigerians would like to see is for Kwamwan to be given a uniform, to wear SCAA uniform, that's their yellow coat. And to be seen doing community service.
Well, we don't know. That can still happen.
Which is the word that, which is the phrase that the minister used. Doing community service and helping to control traffic for at least 1 month. Then we will know that, okay, he's an ambassador in the true sense of the... But to give him a big title of ambassador in a vague manner without details and then say the lady is also now an ambassador.
So we'll see.
So questions are being raised legitimately. by people people who are lawyers and who are aviation experts.
There we go.
Although I heard a comfort lady that a lot of people are offering her jobs now, including inviting her to special occasions.
You want Adeori or King to do the way is it?
That's what is called community service.
Adeori or King. Hello for Kambaleo. Hello for Kambaleo.
Thank you so much, Adefemi.